You've seen the weaves, but have you truly seen the power? The Aes Sedai are celebrated for their command of the One Power, for fireballs woven from Sidar and shields forged of spirit. They are feared for their ability to heal the dying or still the gift of a channeler. But these visible displays of strength are just the surface. The true power of the White Tower lies not in the weaves they channel, but in the silent language they speak, a code of posture, phrasing, and unspoken debts that has shaped empires for millennia. This is the authority that does not roar. It whispers. It lingers in a well-timed pause, a deliberate glance, a favor offered without fanfare. To understand the Aes Sedai, you must learn this language. To challenge them, you must first recognize it. And to survive in their world, you must master it. The White Tower's silent language begins with the body. Long before an Aes Sedai speaks, her posture announces her place in the hierarchy. A sitter of the hall does not slouch. She sits upright, shoulders back, hands resting lightly on the arms of her chair, never clasped, never fidgeting. Her feet are planted firmly on the floor, a silent declaration of stability and control. Novices and accepted learn this lesson within their first week. They are taught to walk with small, measured steps, to keep their eyes lowered in the presence of sisters, to fold their hands at their waists as a sign of deference. A novice who stands too tall, who meets a sister's gaze for too long, will find herself assigned to scrub floors until her knees bleed. It is not a punishment for rudeness. It is a lesson in language. This physical code is not arbitrary. It is rooted in the White Tower's history, in the belief that outward order reflects inward discipline. The Amerlin's seat, in her throne room, sits higher than any other sister. Her chair, carved from ivory and inlaid with gold, elevates her not just physically, but symbolically. When she leans forward, it is a sign of attention. When she leans back, it is a sign of judgment. When she steeples her fingers, it is a sign that she has made up her mind. These cues are so ingrained that even sisters from rival Ajas respond to them instinctively. During the schism of the White Tower, when Egwene Alver led the rebels in Saladar and Elidadu, Avrini Aroyhan ruled in Tarvalon, both women maintained the same posture when addressing their followers. It was a silent reminder that, despite the division, the code of authority remained unbroken. The language of gaze is equally precise. An Aes Sedai does not meet the eyes of those below her for more than a heartbeat. To do so would be to grant them equality, to blur the lines of hierarchy. Instead, she looks past them, or at their chin, or at their hands. It is a way of seeing without acknowledging, of assessing without engaging. Novices are taught to avoid eye contact entirely. Accepted may glance up briefly, but only when spoken to directly. Full sisters may hold a gaze with peers, but never with a sitter or the Amirlan. This rule is so strict that even in moments of crisis, it holds. During the Battle of Dumai's Wells, when Aes Sedai faced off against the Ashaman, the sisters maintained their gaze discipline. They did not let fear or anger make them forget their place. It was a small thing, but it kept them unified, even as the world around them crumbled. Phrasing is the third pillar of this silent language. Aes Sedai do not give orders. They make suggestions. They do not demand compliance. They express expectations. A sitter might say, "It would be wise for you to reconsider," instead of reconsider. An Amerlin might say, "The tower would benefit from your cooperation," instead of cooperate. This indirectness is not weakness. It is power. It forces the listener to choose compliance voluntarily, to take ownership of the decision. And if they refuse, the Aes Sedai can claim no offense. She merely offered a suggestion. This technique is called the soft command, and it is taught to every sister during her time as accepted. Moraine de Modred, the Blue Aja sister who spent decades guiding the Dragon Reborn, was a master of it. She never told Randolph IV what to do. She asked questions. She shared information. She planted ideas. And in the end, he did exactly what she needed him to do, believing it was his own choice. The weaving of favors is another cornerstone of the White Tower's silent authority. Aes Sedai do not give gifts. They offer favors, and favors are never free. A sister might lend a novice a book from her personal collection. She might help an accepted perfect, a difficult weave. She might share a meal with a visiting noble. These acts seem small, even kind, but they are threads in a larger tapestry of obligation. The novice who receives the book will feel compelled to help the sister with her research later. The accepted who perfects the weave will owe the sister a debt to be repaid when she is raised. The noble who shares the meal will remember the Aes Sedai's kindness when the tower needs a favor of its own. This system of unspoken debts has kept the White Tower influential for thousands of years. During the Ale War, the White Tower needed supplies to care for the wounded. Instead of demanding aid from the King of Andor, a group of Grey Aja sisters visited Caemlyn and offered to heal the king's sick daughter. It was a small favor, but it created an obligation. When the sisters later asked for grain and bandages, the king gave them more than they needed. He did not do it because he feared the Aes Sedai. He did it because he owed them. This is the power of the weave of favors. It turns strangers into allies. It turns allies into servants. And it does so without a single threat or command. The invocation of past precedents is the final thread in the silent language of authority. The White Tower's history is a library of justifications. When a sister wants to stifle dissent, she does not shout down her critics. She cites ancient custom. When she wants to legitimize a controversial decision, she references a precedent from centuries ago. This is not just tradition. It is strategy. By tying their actions to the past, the Aes Sedai make themselves seem like guardians of a timeless order. They frame their choices not as personal preferences, but as inevitable consequences of the Tower's sacred mission. One famous example of this occurred in 972 NE, when the Hall of the Sitters debated whether to allow male channelers to train under Aes Sedai supervision. The Red Ajah opposed the idea vehemently. Instead of arguing about the dangers of Sedin, they cited a precedent from the Second Age. During the breaking, the Aes Sedai of old refused to tolerate unregulated male channelers. We must honor their wisdom. The reference to the breaking, a time of chaos and destruction, was enough to sway the Hall. The proposal was rejected, not because of the merits of the argument, but because of the weight of history. This use of precedent is so effective because it appeals to the Aes Sedai's reverence for tradition. They believe that the Tower's survival depends on preserving the practices that have kept it strong for millennia. To question a precedent is to question the Tower itself, and few sisters are willing to do that. Even Egwene Alver, who sought to reform the White Tower during her reign as Amyrlin's seat, used precedent to justify her changes. She did not say, "We need to change." She said, "We need to return to the true traditions of the Tower, the ones that have been forgotten." By framing reform as restoration, she avoided dissent and rallied support. The silent language of authority is not just for internal use. It is a tool the Aes Sedai use to influence the world beyond the Tower's walls. Nobles, kings, and queens learn to read the cues. They know that an Aes Sedai who sits with her hands steepled has made a decision. They know that a favor offered with a smile comes with a price. They know that a reference to ancient custom is not a request, but a warning. This knowledge keeps them in line. It ensures that the White Tower's influence extends far beyond its osier-built walls. As this chapter has shown, the Aes Sedai's power is not just in their ability to channel the One Power. It is in their ability to speak a language that no one else can fully understand. It is in their mastery of posture, gaze, and phrasing. It is in their weaving of favors and their invocation of precedent. This is the silent language of authority. It is subtle, it is patient, and it is far more effective than any fireball or shield. In the chapters ahead, we will explore the unseen threads of power that extend from this language, the legacy of tradition that reinforces it, and the ways it shapes the White Tower's inner circles. We will see how this language has kept the Aes Sedai in control for thousands of years. And we will learn why, even in a world of channelers and shadow spawn, the most dangerous power is the one you cannot see. The White Tower's influence does not end at its gates. It stretches across the Westlands, weaving through kingdoms, shaping wars, and guiding the course of history. This influence is not maintained by weaves of the One Power alone. It is maintained by unseen threads, strategic endorsements, selective information, and the art of suggestion. These threads are invisible to the untrained eye. They are not written down in Tower law. They are not taught to novices in their first lessons, but they are the backbone of the Aes Sedai's dominion. They are the reason kings bow to sisters who cannot match their armies. They are the reason rebels seek the Tower's approval. They are the reason the Shadow fears the Aes Sedai as much as it fears the Dragon Reborn. The first of these unseen threads is what the Aes Sedai call the Tower's blessing. It is not a magical boon. It is an endorsement, a public declaration of support from the White Tower. This blessing can make or break a ruler. A king who receives it gains legitimacy in the eyes of his people. A queen who is denied, it faces whispers of incompetence or corruption. The Tower's blessing is never given lightly. It is a strategic tool, used to reward allies, punish enemies, and shape the political landscape of the Westlands. One of the most famous examples of the Tower's blessing in action occurred in 985 NE, when Elaine Trakan sought to claim the Lion Throne of Andor. Andor had been without a queen for years, torn apart by civil war. Elaine, the daughter of the late Queen Morghese, was one of several claimants. She was young, she was untested, and she faced powerful rivals who had the support of noble houses and mercenary armies. But she had one advantage, the White Tower's blessing. Egwene Alver, then Amyrlin's seat, publicly declared that Elaine was the rightful heir to Andor, chosen by the pattern and endorsed by the Tower. This single statement changed everything. Nobles who had hesitated to support Elaine flocked to her banner. Common people who had feared another civil war rallied behind her. Even her rivals were forced to acknowledge her legitimacy. In the end, Elaine claimed the throne not because of her armies, but because of the Tower's blessing. It was an unseen thread that pulled the kingdom together. The flip side of the Tower's blessing is the withholding of support. This is not a curse. It is a silence. When the White Tower refuses to endorse a ruler, it sends a clear message. It tells the world that the ruler is not fit to govern. It invites dissent. It creates instability. During the reign of King Elrond of Amadisia, the White Tower refused to bless his rule. Elrond was a cruel man who hated Aes Sedai. He had passed laws restricting their movements in his kingdom. He had allied himself with the Children of the Light, the Tower's ancient enemies. The White Tower's silence was a form of punishment. It allowed the Children of the Light to grow in power. It made Elrond's subjects question his leadership. It weakened his hold on the throne. When Elrond was eventually killed in battle, few mourned. The White Tower's unseen thread had unraveled his kingdom, and no one had even realized it was there. The second unseen thread is the cultivation of the right sources. The Aes Sedai do not control information. They curate it. They decide what to share, when to share it, and with whom. They have informants in every kingdom, in every noble court, in every village. These informants send word to the White Tower about crop failures, political alliances, and shadow activity. The Aes Sedai then sift through this information, selecting what to pass on to rulers, what to keep secret, and what to twist into rumors. This selective sharing allows them to guide narratives, shape public opinion, and manipulate events. During the run-up to the last battle, the White Tower learned that the Forsaken Demandred was gathering an army in Shara. Instead of sharing this information with every ruler in the Westlands, the Amyrlin seat chose to tell only Rand al'Thor and a handful of trusted allies. She knew that widespread panic would lead to chaos. She knew that some rulers would ally with Demandred out of fear. She knew that others would refuse to believe the threat until it was too late. By controlling the flow of information, she ensured that the forces of light were prepared without sowing discord. This is the power of cultivating the right sources. It allows the Aes Sedai to stay one step ahead of their enemies. It allows them to turn chaos into order. The Aes Sedai also use rumors as a weapon. They plant stories in taverns, in marketplaces, in noble courts. These rumors are not lies. They are half-truths, exaggerations, misinterpretations. They are designed to shape how people think and act. For example, when the White Tower wanted to weaken the influence of the Children of the Light, they spread rumors about the Order's cruelty. They told stories of children burning innocent villagers accused of being Dark Friends. They whispered that the Lord Captain Commander was secretly a follower of the Dark One. These rumors were not entirely true, but they were enough to turn public opinion against the children. They made it harder for the Order to recruit new members. They made it easier for the White Tower to isolate them. In the end, the Children of the Light were weakened, and the White Tower's influence grew. The third unseen thread is the art of the suggestion. Aes Sedai do not issue direct commands. They plant ideas. They steer conversations. They make it seem like the decisions others make are their own. This is not compulsion. It is persuasion elevated to an art form. It relies on understanding human nature, on knowing what motivates people, what scares them, what they desire. It is the most subtle of the White Tower's powers, and it is the most effective. Moiraine Damodred was a master of the art of suggestion. When she first met Rand al'Thor, Mat Cauthon, and Perrin Aybara in the Two Rivers, she did not tell them they were destined to save the world. She asked them questions. She shared stories of the Dark One's return. She pointed out that strange things were happening. Trollocs in the woods, Myrddraal on the roads. She planted the idea that they were special, that they had a role to play. And when the time came, they followed her willingly. They believed they were making their own choices. But in reality, Moiraine had guided them every step of the way. Another example of the art of suggestion can be seen in the White Tower's handling of novices. When a novice struggles with a weave, a sister does not say, "Do it this way." She says, "Have you tried adjusting your flow of Sedar?" She says, "I remember when I first learned this weave. I found that focusing on your breath helped." She plants the idea of the correct method, and the novice discovers it for herself. This not only teaches the novice the weave, it builds her confidence. It makes her feel like she has achieved something on her own, and it reinforces her loyalty to the sister who guided her. The art of suggestion is not limited to individuals. It can shape the decisions of entire kingdoms. During the Aiel War, the White Tower wanted to end the conflict without bloodshed. Instead of demanding a ceasefire, the Grey Aja sisters met with Aiel chiefs and Wetlander rulers separately. They told the Aiel that the Wetlanders were willing to negotiate. They told the Wetlanders that the Aiel were tired of fighting. They planted the idea of peace in both sides. And in the end, a truce was signed. The Aes Sedai did not broker the truce. They suggested it. And the world was better for it. These unseen threads, the Tower's blessing, the cultivation of the right sources, and the art of suggestion, are the true source of the White Tower's power. They are invisible. They are patient. They are unstoppable. They allow the Aes Sedai to shape the world without anyone realizing they are being shaped. They allow the Tower to maintain its dominion for thousands of years, even when its visible power is weakened. The records of the White Tower's Grey Aja, which specializes in diplomacy, are filled with examples of these unseen threads at work. In 967 NE, a Grey Aja sister named Leen Sharif was sent to resolve a dispute between Kerhian and Tyr over a border town. The two kingdoms had been on the brink of war for months. Leen did not meet with the rulers directly, she met with their advisors. She shared stories of the destruction that would come from war. She planted the idea that a trade alliance would be more profitable than conflict. She suggested that the border town be governed jointly by both kingdoms. And in the end, the dispute was resolved without a single sword being drawn. Leen's report to the White Tower read, "The rulers believe they have found a solution on their own. They do not realize that the solution was ours." This is the essence of the White Tower's unseen threads. They are power without glory, influence without recognition. They are the reason the Aes Sedai are feared and respected. They are the reason the White Tower has survived wars, schisms, and the Dark One's attacks. In the chapters ahead, we will explore how these threads are reinforced by the legacy of tradition, how they shape the White Tower's inner circles, and how they extend beyond the Tower's walls to influence the entire Westlands. We will see how the Aes Sedai's mastery of these unseen threads has made them the true power behind the thrones of the world. And we will learn why, in the game of influence, subtlety always wins. The White Tower is not just a building. It is a legacy, a chain of tradition that stretches back to the Age of Legends. For millennia, the Aes Sedai have preserved this legacy, clinging to rituals, oaths, and knowledge that have kept their order strong. To outsiders, these traditions may seem like rigid formalities, like outdated customs that serve no purpose in a world threatened by the Dark One. But nothing could be further from the truth. The legacy of tradition is the White Tower's most powerful weapon. It is the glue that holds the order together. It is the shield that protects it from corruption. It is the tool that ensures its influence endures. This legacy is built on three pillars: the weight of the three oaths, the proper way of doing things, and the selective guardianship of knowledge. Together, these pillars form a foundation that no enemy can shake. The three oaths are the most visible part of this legacy. Every Aes Sedai, upon being raised to the shawl, swears them on the oath rod to speak no word that is not true, to make no weapon for one man to kill another, and to never use the one power as a weapon except in defense of her own life, the life of another sister, or the life of her warder. On the surface, these oaths seem like limitations. They prevent the Aes Sedai from lying, from manufacturing weapons of war, from using their most powerful tool to attack. But to the Aes Sedai, the three oaths are not limitations. They are strengths. They are the source of their credibility. They are the reason the world trusts them. The first oath, the oath of truth, is perhaps the most powerful. In a world of lies and deception, the Aes Sedai's inability to lie makes them beacons of reliability. Kings seek their advice because they know it is honest. Common people turn to them in crisis because they know they will not be misled. Even the Forsaken, who thrive on deception, respect the oath of truth. Ishamael, the most powerful of the Forsaken, once said, "The Aes Sedai cannot lie, but they can twist the truth until it is more dangerous than any lie." He was right. The Aes Sedai have mastered the art of telling the truth in a way that misleads. They omit details. They use vague language. They focus on technicalities. But even this twisted truth is more trustworthy than the outright lies of other rulers and factions. The Oath of Truth also serves to control the Aes Sedai themselves. It prevents sisters from lying to each other, from hiding their intentions, from manipulating their peers with false promises. This internal honesty is crucial to the White Tower's unity. It ensures that sisters can work together without fear of betrayal. It ensures that disputes are resolved based on facts, not fiction. During the schism of the White Tower, when the Order split into loyalists and rebels, the Oath of Truth prevented the conflict from descending into chaos. Even though the sisters disagreed fiercely, they could not lie about their actions or their motives. This honesty allowed for dialogue. It allowed for compromise. And in the end, it allowed for the reunification of the Tower. The second oath, the oath against making weapons, reinforces the Aes Sedai's role as peacemakers. By refusing to make weapons, the Aes Sedai position themselves as above the petty wars of men. They become symbols of neutrality, of compassion, of a higher purpose. This position allows them to mediate disputes between kingdoms, to step in and end conflicts without being seen as taking sides. During the War of the 100 Years, which devastated the Westlands for a century, the Aes Sedai refused to make weapons for any faction. Instead, they acted as mediators, using their influence to broker ceasefires and negotiate peace treaties. Their refusal to take part in the violence made them trusted by all sides. It allowed them to end the war and rebuild the shattered kingdoms. The third oath, the Oath of Defense, ensures that the Aes Sedai use their power responsibly. It prevents them from becoming tyrants, from using the one power to oppress the weak. It limits their use of force to situations where lives are at stake. This limitation makes the Aes Sedai's power more respected, not less. People do not fear them because they know the Aes Sedai will not attack without just cause. They trust them because they know the Aes Sedai will defend the innocent. During the Trolloc raids on the two rivers, the Aes Sedai, who came to help, did not use their power to destroy the Trollocs indiscriminately. They used it to protect the villagers, to heal the wounded, to create barriers that kept the shadow spawn at bay. This responsible use of power earned them the gratitude of the Two Rivers folk, and it reinforced the Aes Sedai's reputation as guardians of the light. The second pillar of the legacy of tradition is the proper way of doing things. The White Tower has a ritual for everything: a ceremony for raising novices to accepted, a protocol for meeting with kings, a formal process for electing the Unwritten seat. These rituals are not just formalities. They are expressions of hierarchy. They are reminders of the Order's values. They are tools for maintaining discipline. A novice who learns the proper way of addressing a sister learns respect. An accepted who participates in the raising ceremony learns humility. A sitter who follows the protocol for voting in the hall learns patience. The raising ceremony, in which a novice is raised to accepted and then to the shawl, is one of the most important rituals in the White Tower. It is a long, arduous process that tests the candidate's physical, mental, and spiritual strength. The candidate must stand for hours while sisters recite the tower's history. She must demonstrate mastery of dozens of weaves. She must answer questions about tower law and the three oaths. The ceremony is not designed to be easy. It is designed to be transformative. It strips the candidate of her individuality and rebuilds her as an Aes Sedai. By the end of the ceremony, she is no longer a girl from the Two Rivers or Caerhien. She is a member of the White Tower. She has internalized the Order's values. She is committed to its legacy. The protocol for electing the Unwritten seat is another example of the proper way. The Unwritten is not chosen by popular vote. She is chosen by the sitters of the hall through a complex process of negotiation and consensus. The sitters meet in secret. They discuss candidates for days, even weeks. They weigh their strengths and weaknesses. They consider their Aja affiliations. They seek the guidance of the pattern. This process is slow. It is deliberate. It is designed to ensure that the Unwritten is not just a powerful channeler, but a wise leader who can unite the tower. During the election of Egwene Alver as Unwritten seat of the Rebel Tower, the sitters followed the proper way even in exile. They did not rush the process. They did not let emotion cloud their judgment. They chose Egwene because she was the best candidate, not because she was the most popular. This commitment to the proper way ensured that the Rebel Tower remained legitimate, even in the eyes of its enemies. The third pillar of the legacy of tradition is the selective guardianship of knowledge. The White Tower's library is one of the largest and most comprehensive in the Westlands. It contains books, scrolls, and manuscripts on everything from the One Power to history to philosophy. But not all of this knowledge is available to everyone. Novices are allowed to read only basic texts. Accepted have access to more advanced material. Full sisters can read most of the library, but some sections are restricted to sitters or the Unwritten seat alone. This selective dissemination of knowledge is not about secrecy. It is about control. It ensures that the Aes Sedai retain a monopoly on critical information. It prevents outsiders from learning the secrets of the One Power. It ensures that the tower's traditions are passed down correctly, without distortion. One of the most restricted sections of the library is the Black Aja files. These files contain information about the Black Aja, the secret sect of Aes Sedai dedicated to the Dark One. They include the names of suspected Black Aja sisters, the methods they use to hide their allegiance, the plans they have for the tower. Access to these files is restricted to the Unwritten seat and a handful of trusted sitters. This restriction is necessary to prevent the Black Aja from discovering that the tower is onto them. It ensures that the fight against the Black Aja remains secret. It allows the White Tower to root out corruption without causing panic. Another restricted section is the Prophecy Archives. These archives contain ancient prophecies about the Dragon Reborn, the Last Battle, and the Wheel of Time. The Aes Sedai do not share these prophecies with the public. They do not even share them with most sisters. This is because prophecies are dangerous. They can be misinterpreted. They can be used to manipulate people. They can create false hope or unnecessary fear. The Aes Sedai guard these prophecies carefully, sharing only what is necessary with those who need to know. When Rand al'Thor emerged as the Dragon Reborn, the Amerlin Seat shared only portions of the prophecies of the dragon with him. She did not tell him everything. She knew that too much knowledge would overwhelm him, that it would make him reckless. By controlling the flow of prophecy, she ensured that Rand fulfilled his destiny without being destroyed by it. The legacy of tradition is not static. It evolves. It adapts, but it never breaks. The Aes Sedai change their rituals. They reinterpret the Three Oaths. They add new books to their library. But they always do so in a way that preserves the core of their legacy. They always do so in a way that reinforces their order's values. This adaptability is what makes the legacy of tradition so powerful. It allows the White Tower to survive in a changing world. It allows the Aes Sedai to remain relevant even as kingdoms rise and fall. As this chapter has shown, the White Tower's legacy of tradition is not a burden. It is a strength. It is the reason the Aes Sedai have survived for millennia. It is the reason they are trusted by the world. It is the reason they are feared by the Shadow. The Three Oaths give them credibility. The proper way gives them discipline. The selective guardianship of knowledge gives them power. Together, these pillars form a legacy that no enemy can destroy. In the chapters ahead, we will explore how this legacy shapes the White Tower's inner circles, how it extends beyond the tower's walls, and how it ensures the Aes Sedai's influence endures for generations to come. We will see how tradition is not just the past, it is the future. And it is the key to the White Tower's eternal dominion. The White Tower is a maze, a labyrinth of alliances, rivalries, and unspoken rules that only the initiated can navigate. To the outside world, it appears as a unified order, bound by the Three Oaths and a shared purpose. But on the inside, it is a collection of Ajahs, each with its own agenda, of sisters, each with her own ambitions, of power struggles that play out in whispered conversations and subtle gestures. To survive in this world, an Aes Sedai must master the art of navigating the inner circles. She must know who to trust, who to avoid, who to ally with. She must understand the sisterhood of secrets, the mentorship web, and the power of unspoken judgments. These are the tools that separate the successful sisters from the forgotten ones. These are the tools that determine who rises to the Hall of the Sitters and who fades into obscurity. The first key to navigating the inner circles is the sisterhood of secrets. The White Tower is built on secrets. Secrets about the One Power. Secrets about the Dark One. Secrets about the sisters themselves. Some of these secrets are shared by all Aes Sedai. Others are known only to members of a specific Ajah. Still others are shared by small groups of sisters who have formed exclusive bonds. These secret bonds are the glue that holds the inner circles together. They create trust. They foster loyalty. They give sisters an edge in the constant game of influence. The Ajahs are the most visible example of the sisterhood of secrets. Each Ajah has its own purpose, its own rituals, its own secrets. The Blue Ajah is dedicated to justice and causes. Its sisters share information about political movements and rebel groups. They work together to advance their chosen causes, even if it means breaking tower law. The Red Ajah is dedicated to hunting male channelers. Its sisters share intelligence about suspected channelers. They coordinate their efforts to gentle them, even if it means traveling to distant kingdoms. The Green Ajah is dedicated to preparing for Tarmon Gaidon. Its sisters share battle strategies and information about Shadow Spawn. They train together, fight together, and die together. These Ajah secrets create a sense of identity. They make sisters feel like they are part of something larger than themselves. They make them willing to sacrifice for their Ajah. During the Schism of the White Tower, the Ajah secrets played a crucial role in keeping the factions unified. The Blue Ajah sisters, exiled from Tar Valon, relied on their shared secrets to maintain contact with each other. They used their network of informants to gather information about the Loyalist Tower. They used their knowledge of political causes to rally support from kingdoms across the Westlands. Without these secrets, the Rebel Tower would have collapsed. Beyond the Ajahs, there are smaller, more exclusive secret groups. These are groups of sisters who share a specific experience or a specific goal. There are the Warder Bond sisters, who have lost their warders and share their grief. There are the prophecy scholars, who study ancient prophecies in secret. There are the reformers, who seek to change the White Tower from within. These groups are not recognized by Tower law. They have no formal structure, but they are powerful. They allow sisters to share ideas that would be dangerous to express openly. They allow them to coordinate their efforts without attracting attention. They allow them to influence the Tower's direction from the shadows. One such group is the Circle of 12, a secret society of sitters from different Ajahs who meet in private to discuss matters of great importance. The Circle was formed during the reign of Amerlin Seat Tamra Ospenia, in response to the growing threat of the Dark One. Its members share information about the Forsaken. They coordinate their votes in the hall. They make decisions that affect the entire White Tower, without the knowledge of the other sisters. The Circle's existence is a closely guarded secret. Its members communicate through coded messages and hidden meetings. They know that if their existence is revealed, it would cause chaos in the tower. But they believe that their secret alliance is necessary to protect the Order from threats both internal and external. The second key to navigating the inner circles is the mentorship web. The White Tower does not leave the development of young sisters to chance. Senior Aes Sedai strategically select novices and accepted to mentor. They guide them. They teach them. They elevate them. Their goal is not just to train the next generation of Aes Sedai. It is to ensure that these young sisters align with their Aja's agenda, that they remain loyal to their mentors, that they become allies in the power struggles of the inner circles. A mentor's influence begins the moment she selects a protege. She will take the novice under her wing. She will teach her advanced weaves. She will introduce her to other influential sisters. She will share her knowledge of the tower's inner workings. In return, she expects loyalty. She expects the protege to support her in the hall, to vote as she votes, to defend her against critics. This relationship is not just about teaching. It is about building a political alliance. Moiraine de Modred's mentorship of Egwene Alver is a perfect example of the mentorship web in action. Moiraine recognized Egwene's potential from the moment she met her in the Two Rivers. She took her to the White Tower. She taught her to channel. She introduced her to Siwan Sanche, the Amir Linseet. She guided her through the ranks, helping her become accepted, and then a sister. Moiraine's goal was not just to train Egwene, it was to ensure that Egwene would support her in her quest to guide the Dragon Reborn. And Egwene did. Even after Moiraine's apparent death, Egwene continued to uphold her mentor's values. She became a leader of the Rebel Tower. She worked to reunify the Order. She fought to save the world from the Dark One. Moiraine's mentorship had created a lifelong alliance. The mentorship web is not limited to individual relationships. It extends to Ajas as a whole. Each Aja has a formal mentorship program. Senior sisters are assigned to mentor novices and accepted, who show an interest in the Aja's purpose. The Blue Aja mentors young sisters who are passionate about justice. The Red Aja mentors those who are committed to hunting male channelers. The Green Aja mentors those who are eager to fight in Tarmon Gaiden. This program ensures that each Aja's ranks are replenished with loyal, like-minded sisters. It ensures that the Aja's agenda continues to be advanced for generations. The third key to navigating the inner circles is understanding the power of unspoken judgments. In the White Tower, punishment does not always come in the form of chores or stilling. Sometimes, it comes in the form of silence, of exclusion, of subtle disapproval. These unspoken judgments are a potent weapon. They can ruin a sister's reputation. They can isolate her from her peers. They can force her to fall in line. A sister who violates the unwritten rules of the inner circles may find herself excluded from meals with other sisters. She may find that no one wants to work with her on projects. She may find that her ideas are ignored in the hall. These slights are not accidental. They are deliberate. They are a message, a warning that she has stepped out of line, and they are often more effective than formal punishment. A sister can endure scrubbing floors, but she cannot endure being shunned by her own kind. During the schism of the White Tower, unspoken judgments were used to keep sisters in line. Loyalist sisters who expressed sympathy for the rebels were excluded from Aja meetings. They were not invited to social gatherings. They were given the most menial tasks. Rebel sisters who questioned Egwene's leadership faced similar treatment. They were ignored in strategy meetings. They were not assigned to important missions. They were made to feel like outsiders. These unspoken judgments ensured that both factions remained unified. They prevented dissent from spreading. They forced sisters to choose sides. Unspoken judgments are also used to discipline sisters who violate the tower's unwritten rules. A sister who seeks power too openly, who allies with the wrong Aja, who speaks out against the Amir Linseet. These sisters will find themselves the target of subtle disapproval. Other sisters will avoid them. They will whisper about them behind their backs. They will make it clear that their behavior is not acceptable. In most cases, the sister will get the message. She will tone down her ambitions. She will switch her alliances. She will keep her opinions to herself. She will fall back in line. Navigating the inner circles of the White Tower is not for the faint of heart. It requires intelligence. It requires patience. It requires a willingness to play the game. But for those who master it, the rewards are great. They can rise to the Hall of the Sitters. They can influence the direction of the tower. They can become some of the most powerful people in the Westlands. For those who fail, the consequences are severe. They can be forgotten. They can be isolated. They can be destroyed. The records of the White Tower's Yellow Aja, which specializes in healing, contain accounts of sisters who fell victim to the inner circles. One such account, written by a Yellow Aja sister named Mirelle Berengari, describes a young sister named Lila who was exiled from her Aja for questioning a sitter's decision. Lila was talented, she was kind, but she spoke out of turn. She challenged the sitter's authority, and so she was shunned. No one would work with her, no one would speak to her. She became a ghost in the tower. Eventually, she left. She traveled to the borderlands and died fighting Trollocs. She could have been a great sister, but she did not understand the inner circles. She did not understand the unspoken rules. This account is a warning. It is a reminder that the White Tower's inner circles are not just about power. They are about survival. To thrive in the White Tower, you must understand the Sisterhood of Secrets. You must navigate the mentorship web. You must respect the power of unspoken judgments. These are the tools that will help you succeed. These are the tools that will keep you safe. In the chapters ahead, we will explore how these tools extend beyond the tower's walls, how they ensure the Aes Sedai's influence endures, and how they make the White Tower one of the most powerful institutions in the Wheel of Time. The White Tower's power does not stop at its gates. It flows outward like water from a spring, touching every corner of the Westlands. It shapes the decisions of kings and queens. It guides the actions of common people. It influences the course of wars and the fate of nations. This enduring influence is not the result of weaves or threats. It is the result of the White Tower's unwritten rules. Rules that are passed down through former students, warders, and allies. Rules that allow the Aes Sedai to anticipate the future and shape events long before they unfold. Rules that are shrouded in secrecy, reinforcing the Aes Sedai's mystique and ensuring their dominion endures. The first extension of the White Tower's enduring influence is through its former students. For millennia, the White Tower has educated the daughters of nobles and rulers from across the Westlands. These young women are sent to the tower to learn the ways of the Aes Sedai, to study the One Power for those who can channel, to learn diplomacy, healing, and leadership. Even those who do not become Aes Sedai, who leave the tower as failed novices or honorary sisters, carry the White Tower's unwritten rules with them. They return to their kingdoms as ambassadors of the tower's values. They implement the lessons they learned in the tower. They remain loyal to the Aes Sedai, often serving as informants or allies. One of the most famous examples of this is Morgase Tricond, the former Queen of Andor. Morgase was sent to the White Tower as a young woman. She did not have the ability to channel, so she never became a novice. But she studied under the Aes Sedai for years, learning diplomacy, strategy, and the art of influence. When she returned to Andor and became queen, she remained loyal to the White Tower. She sought the tower's advice on matters of state. She supported the Aes Sedai's efforts to fight the Shadow. She even named her daughter Elaine, who would later become an Aes Sedai, as her heir. Morgase's loyalty to the tower was not just a personal choice. It was a result of the lessons she learned during her time there. Lessons about the tower's power. Lessons about the importance of tradition. Lessons about the unwritten rules that govern influence. Another example is Gawain Tricand, Morgase's son and Egwene Olvair's warder. Gawain was not a student of the White Tower, but spent years in its halls, accompanying his sister Elaine. He observed the Aes Sedai's unwritten rules firsthand. He learned how they used posture and phrasing to assert authority. He learned how they wove favors to build alliances. He learned how they used unspoken judgments to keep each other in line. When Gawain became Lord Captain of the Younglings, the tower's elite guard, he implemented these rules in his leadership. He trained his soldiers to stand tall and speak with precision. He rewarded loyalty with favors. He used subtle disapproval to discipline those who violated his orders. The Younglings became one of the most disciplined and effective fighting forces in the Westlands, in large part because of the White Tower's unwritten rules. The second extension of the White Tower's enduring influence is through its warders. A warder is more than just a bodyguard. He is an extension of the Aes Sedai's will. He is a link between the tower and the world of men. Warders are trained in the White Tower's unwritten rules. They learn to read the Aes Sedai's subtle cues. They learn to anticipate their needs. They learn to act as their eyes and ears in the world. A warder will never openly challenge an Aes Sedai. He will never question her decisions. He will never reveal her secrets. He is bound to her by the warder bond, a magical connection that links their minds and emotions. But he is also bound to her by the unwritten rules of the White Tower. Lan Mandragoran, Moiraine Damodred's warder, is the epitome of this. Lan was a prince of Malkir, a kingdom destroyed by the Blight. He became Moiraine's warder out of gratitude for her help in protecting his people. But over time, he internalized the White Tower's unwritten rules. He learned to stand silently at Moiraine's side, his posture a silent declaration of her authority. He learned to speak only when spoken to, his words measured and respectful. He learned to anticipate her needs, bringing her tea before she asked for it, drawing his sword before she gave the command. Lan was not just Moiraine's bodyguard. He was her shadow, her extension, her most loyal ally. And through him, Moiraine's influence extended far beyond the tower's walls. He negotiated with kings on her behalf. He gathered intelligence from soldiers and common folk alike. He fought her battles when she could not. Lan was a living example of the White Tower's enduring influence. The third extension of the White Tower's enduring influence is through its allies. The Aes Sedai have built a network of allies across the Westlands: lords and ladies, merchants and artisans, healers and scholars. These allies are bound to the tower by favors, by loyalty, and by the unwritten rules of influence. They provide the Aes Sedai with information. They offer them shelter and supplies. They support their efforts to maintain peace and fight the shadow. In return, the Aes Sedai offer them protection. They share their knowledge. They use their influence to advance their interests. The Ogier are one of the White Tower's oldest and most loyal allies. The Ogier built the White Tower, using their skill with stone and wood to create a structure that has stood for millennia. They share the Aes Sedai's reverence for tradition. They respect the tower's unwritten rules. And they have stood by the Aes Sedai through countless crises. During the breaking of the world, the Ogier sheltered Aes Sedai in their steadings, protecting them from the chaos outside. During the last battle, the Ogier fought alongside the Aes Sedai, using their strength to defend the tower from Shadowspawn. The Ogier's loyalty to the tower is not just a result of their shared history. It is a result of the unwritten rules of alliance, rules that require mutual respect, rules that demand loyalty, rules that ensure both sides benefit. The White Tower's enduring influence is also strengthened by its ability to anticipate the future. The Aes Sedai's knowledge of prophecies, their network of informants, their understanding of human nature. All of these allow them to predict events before they happen, to prepare for crises before they unfold, to shape the future in their favor. This ability to anticipate is not magical. It is the result of the unwritten rules, rules that teach them to gather information selectively, rules that teach them to read subtle cues, rules that teach them to plan for the long term. During the run-up to the last battle, the White Tower anticipated the Forsaken's plan to attack Tar Valon. They did not learn of the attack through a prophecy or a weave. They learned of it through their network of informants, through their analysis of the Forsaken's past actions, through their understanding of the Shadow's strategy. The Aes Sedai prepared for the attack. They strengthened the tower's defenses. They rallied their allies. They trained their sisters in battle weaves. When the Forsaken's army arrived, the White Tower was ready. They repelled the attack. They saved the tower. They ensured that the Forces of Light had a stronghold from which to launch the final assault on the Dark One. This victory was not the result of luck. It was the result of the White Tower's ability to anticipate the future, an ability rooted in its unwritten rules. Finally, the White Tower's enduring influence is reinforced by its mystique. The Aes Sedai are seen as mysterious, and inscrutable, as beings who exist above the petty concerns of men. This mystique is not accidental. It is a deliberate creation. The Aes Sedai's secrecy about their unwritten rules, their refusal to explain their actions, their air of calm and confidence, all of these contribute to their mystique. And this mystique makes their influence stronger. People fear what they do not understand. They respect what they cannot explain. They are more likely to follow the guidance of a group that seems wise and otherworldly. The Aes Sedai's mystique is also reinforced by their appearance, their plain white dresses, their shawls of 7 colors, their calm demeanor. All of these set them apart from ordinary people. They make them seem like they are not part of the same world, like they have access to knowledge and power that others can only dream of. This appearance is not just a matter of tradition, it is a tool of influence. It makes people more likely to trust them, more likely to obey them, more likely to accept their unwritten rules. As this chapter has shown, the White Tower's influence is not limited to its walls. It extends through former students, warders, and allies. It is strengthened by the ability to anticipate the future. It is reinforced by mystique. This enduring influence has kept the White Tower at the center of power in the Westlands for millennia. It has allowed the Aes Sedai to shape the course of history. It has ensured that their unwritten rules are followed not just within the tower, but across the entire continent. In the final chapter, we will explore how these unwritten rules have stood the test of time, how they have evolved to meet new challenges, how they ensure that the White Tower's influence will endure for generations to come. The White Tower's unwritten rules are not just a collection of customs. They are a living, breathing system, a code that has evolved over millennia to meet the changing needs of the Aes Sedai and the world they protect. They have survived wars, the breaking of the world, the return of the Dark One. They have outlasted kings and kingdoms. They have outlasted even the Forsaken. Why? Because they are not based on power or fear. They are based on human nature, on the universal desire for order, for respect, for influence. They are timeless. They are unbreakable. And they are the reason the White Tower remains the most powerful institution in the Wheel of Time. The unwritten rules are timeless because they tap into fundamental truths about human behavior. People respond to subtle cues of authority. They repay favors. They respect tradition. They fear exclusion. These truths are not unique to the Westlands. They are not unique to the Third Age. They are part of what it means to be human. The Aes Sedai have mastered these truths. They have turned them into rules. Rules that work in any time, in any place, for any people. Take the rule of posture and gaze. It is a rule that has been followed since the Age of Legends. In the Age of Legends, the Aes Sedai were scholars and scientists. They used posture and gaze to assert authority in academic debates. In the Third Age, they use the same rule to assert authority in royal courts. In the Fourth Age, they will use it to assert authority in whatever new world emerges from the last battle. The context changes. The people change, but the rule remains the same. Because it is based on a fundamental truth, people perceive confidence and authority in how others carry themselves. Another example is the weaving of favors. This rule has been used by the Aes Sedai to build alliances since the first days of the White Tower. In the Age of Legends, they traded knowledge for support. In the Breaking, they traded healing for shelter. In the Third Age, they trade political influence for supplies. The favors change. The allies change. But the rule remains the same. Because it is based on a fundamental truth, people feel obligated to repay kindness, to honor debts, to support those who have supported them. The unwritten rules are unbreakable because they are self-reinforcing. They create a system where compliance is rewarded and dissent is punished. A sister who follows the rules is elevated. She gains allies. She gains influence. She gains the respect of her peers. A sister who breaks the rules is shunned. She loses allies. She loses influence. She loses her place in the inner circles. This system ensures that the rules are followed not out of fear of punishment, but out of desire for reward. It ensures that the rules are passed down from generation to generation, that they are internalized by every novice and accepted, that they become part of the Aes Sedai's identity. The mentorship web is a perfect example of this self-reinforcement. A young sister who is mentored by a powerful sitter learns the unwritten rules. She follows them. She is elevated. She becomes a mentor herself. She teaches the rules to the next generation. This cycle ensures that the rules are never forgotten, that they are never abandoned, that they continue to shape the White Tower for centuries. The unwritten rules are also unbreakable because they are adaptable. The Aes Sedai do not cling to the letter of the rules. They cling to their spirit. They change the rules to meet new challenges, to adapt to new worlds, to survive new threats. This adaptability ensures that the rules remain relevant, that they continue to serve the White Tower's purpose, that they never become obsolete. During the schism of the White Tower, the unwritten rules adapted. The rebel sisters, exiled from Tar Valon, could not follow the same protocols as the loyalists. They could not hold formal hall meetings. They could not elect a sitters' council in the traditional way, so they adapted the rules. They held secret meetings. They elected sitters through consensus. They used the weaving of favors to build alliances with kingdoms that supported their cause. These adaptations allowed the rebel tower to survive, to grow, to eventually reunify with the loyalist tower. The rules changed, but their spirit remained the same. They still serve the purpose of unifying the Aes Sedai, of maintaining their influence, of protecting the world from the shadow. The unwritten rules are also unbreakable because they are invisible. They are not written down in tower law. They are not enforced by the Amerlin seat or the Hall of the Sitters. They are enforced by the sisters themselves, by their expectations, by their judgments, by their loyalty. This invisibility makes the rules impossible to overthrow. You cannot rebel against a rule that does not exist on paper. You cannot protest a code that no one acknowledges. You cannot destroy a system that is built into the very fabric of the Order. The Sisterhood of Secrets is a testament to this invisibility. The secret bonds between sisters, the hidden alliances, the unspoken agreements. These are all part of the unwritten rules. They are invisible to outsiders. They are even invisible to many sisters, but they are powerful. They ensure that the rules are followed, that the White Tower remains unified, that the Aes Sedai's influence endures. The unwritten rules of the White Tower are more than just a code of conduct. They are a way of life. They are the essence of what it means to be an Aes Sedai. They are the reason the White Tower has survived for millennia. They are the reason the Aes Sedai are feared and respected. They are the reason the Shadow cannot destroy them. As we conclude this exploration of the White Tower's unwritten rules, we are left with a profound truth. The Aes Sedai's power is not in their ability to channel the One Power. It is in their ability to understand human nature, to master the art of influence, to create a system of rules that is timeless and unbreakable. They are not just channelers, they are strategists. They are psychologists. They are masters of the invisible game of power. The unwritten rules are a gift, a legacy passed down from the Age of Legends, a tool that has allowed the Aes Sedai to protect the world from the Shadow, to maintain peace in the Westlands, to guide the Dragon Reborn to his destiny. They are a reminder that true power is not about force. It is about influence. It is about respect. It is about understanding the unspoken rules that govern human behavior. In the end, the White Tower's unwritten rules are not just for the Aes Sedai. They are for anyone who seeks to navigate the complex world of power and influence. They teach us that authority is not about shouting. It is about posture and phrasing. They teach us that alliances are not about threats. They are about weaving favors. They teach us that tradition is not about rigidity. It is about legacy. They teach us that the most powerful rules are the ones no one writes down. The White Tower's unwritten rules will continue to shape the wheel of time for generations to come. They will adapt to new worlds. They will survive new threats. They will remain timeless and unbreakable. And they will ensure that the Aes Sedai remain the true power behind the thrones of the world, that they remain the guardians of the light, that they remain the most influential force in the Westlands. This is the legacy of the White Tower's unwritten rules, a legacy of influence, a legacy of tradition, a legacy of power. And it is a legacy that will never die.